Hello?
Hello. I need your help.
What time is it?
I'm told you can see people's memories. Is that right?
Yes, that's what we do, but
Good. Well, you've got to help me. I saw something horrible, and it's not clear what happened. So you've got to help me. I watched her die. The end. No, it wasn't quite that short.
And just to be clear, that wasn't chaos, right? So, hello again. Welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am not a skateboarder. I am your host, Robert.
It's most of your host, Robert. He hasn't been very well. And down here in South, extra South, Florida, otherwise known as Australia, which is baking at the moment because it's summer. It's mad hoverboard scientist Ray.
There you go.
I had to be a hoverboard scientist this week because there's hoverboards in this one. Love the hoverboards. So, Robert, what have you been watching?
Well, aside from, and I'm going to mention this again because it is so awesome. And again, we probably have to cover it in this show. I read and I read the book and watched the TV shows for both of these IPs, Black Matter and the Three Body Problem.
I need to get to the three-body problem.
It is so cool. I really like how and again, I don't want to get too much into details because we do spoiled whenever it's our time, and it's not our time to spoil. But I really love how the author of this book introduces the three body problem, which is an actual scientific problem, into a story. It is really fascinating to me. So I really enjoyed it. And not only the book, but the TV show. And I got to pick up the other two. That's all I can say. But aside from that, I have been enjoying Shangri-La Frontier. It's apparently one of our favorite animes because the three of us here have been watching it. And of course, Demon Lord 2099. I really like that concept. And you guys heard me talk about this earlier when I first was introduced to this because Gio recommended it to me, and I was watching it thinking, this is not sci-fi. This is your typical, demon lord and the army, and there's knights and swords and stuff like that. There's no sci-fi. Oh boy, was I wrong.
Was you wrong? Well, I think the latest episode was called Cyber Magic. What was it? Cyber Magic City Akihabara.
Nice.
That was the name of the latest episode. So you can guess how that works out.
You guys, if you listen to the show long enough, you know me. And I want to say, whenever you have an IP touch multiple genres all at once, you had me. And this one touches the fantasy, it touches magic, it touches science fiction, it touches all of those. And of course, one of my favorite, cyberpunk, all into one nice little bundle. So,
well, I don't know if you've ever played it, Robert, but there was a role-playing game that came out in the late 80s called Shadowrun, which basically had magic and cybernetics, but they were two distinct things that sort of ran parallel to each other. But Demon Lord 2099 actually combines them. So the cyberware is powered by magic, which is really cool. It's like everything's absolutely meshed together rather than running in parallel. So I like it for that particular aspect as well.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And how about you? What have you been watching? Sci-fi.
Well, obviously, I've been watching that one because I was just talking about it. Shangri-La Frontier has been awesome. Probably because I have a penchant for mecha battles, and they actually swapped games. Like it's called Triangular Frontier, which is the name of the game that the guy was playing most of the time. He's got the shits with it, and he's gone off to play something called Nephilim Hollow, which is it's basically mecha battles. So he's been playing in that, and he just rocked up and shook the place up because he's like, he's a self-insert penultimate gamer who has got to break the system and do all basically work his way around the normal ways of playing to become top of the heap kind of thing by doing things not the way everybody else is doing them. So he's interesting like that. And of course, following a main character who works outside the box is always fun. Of course, Dan to Dan, can't forget that. Just freaking goes from better to better to better. The aliens have shown up again, and they're being complete and utter scumbags, and putting the kids in completely ridiculous and embarrassing situations. And the love triangle is heating up, and a childhood friend of Momo's has shown up who's like was her first crush, and Okaroon's like, holy shit, I've got competition. So it's just like bonkers. It's just great stuff. So obviously the sci-fi anime has been cooking my goose. But I also watched the movie from 2015. Now I don't always go for Adam Sandler movies, but this one's particularly good. And again, it's like you said, it's one of those movies that hits all the boxes. Because I was there when arcade gaming got started, so I remember it vividly. I remember going on holidays, and all it was around was pinball machines. And then there was this box sitting there next to the pinball machines. I walked up, what the hell is this? Monochrome screen, but it was Space Invaders, the original Space Invaders. And it was 1977 or 1978, something like that. And it was just like, oh my God, what is this? It's completely different. And having just seen Star Wars for the first time when it came out in cinemas, and I was like, oh, wow, and now we got aliens invading. This is so cool. So yeah, the movie was Pixels. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is so good. And of course, if you remember the original arcade games, it ticks all the buttons, nostalgia and everything. So good. So we've got to cover Pixels at some point.
Oh yes, we have to. We definitely have to.
We absolutely do. And a few HFY sci-fi stories on YouTube when I get the opportunity. They often have clickbait titles, but the stories are actually quite good. So check those out.
Okay, so should we go into the next segment and make sure that I put the right video this time?
That would help.
We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And if you are new to the show, this is the segment where we feature the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. I do have to admit, the engagement has, been kicking up a notch on Threads. So if you are a fan of sci-fi, if you are a creator of sci-fi, there's two things you could do. One is you can add the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. I know in Threads it's very you only get one hashtag, so I know it's but you won't be disappointed by the level of engagement. So you want to select This Is Sci-Fi as your hashtag whenever you're posting something for your favorite passion in sci-fi, or if you're a creator, you want to do in the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi on your post. For all you know, if you want to post under another hashtag, I have actually posted twice, which there's nothing bad about that. And a couple of things will happen from that. Things that I've seen since we started using it is, number one, you'll find those users that love that thing that you love so much, and you can get new friends that you can talk about the thing that you liked so much. The other thing that could happen that I've seen happen is that you have some users that were not exposed to that one thing that you're posting about. And because of your passion, because that's one thing we do have, us sci-fi fans. If we find that one thing that we love so much, we have passion for it. And there's nothing better for someone that to hear the passion on that one IP from a fan, and they are curious enough, and they might, that might be one thing that they can do that gets them to watch it for the first time. And they could, from that moment on, they could either like it or hate it, but they will have comments about it, and that will trigger a conversation. And that's what we're all about in this podcast, is all about the conversation. So we have various chats. So if you're interested in joining those chats, reach out to our uh, media channels. Could be in Threads or in X, or whatever it is that you go. Just reach out to us and send us a DM, and we can send you a link to join those private channels for sci-fi fans. Of course, the main channel that we use for those conversations is our Discord channel. So just go ahead and join our Discord channel, and I'm pretty sure you'll find the channel for the things you like. And if you don't, just reach out to me, and I'll make it a thing. Another way that you can reach out and get your voice heard is by calling our hotline. The hotline is 1-305-563-6334. And in there, you can tell us your passion. Just like you would use the hashtag, you leave a message, give us your passion, and we'll basically play that on our next episode, and we'll have a conversation around it. If you want to get your voice heard, just call that hotline. The hotline is 305-563-6334. Um, do you anything you want to add to that? This is sci-fi
Oh, yeah.
hashtag.
Well, I wanted to bring attention to our YouTube channel. Now, of course, if you're watching this a month after it's dropped as a pod, then you already know about our YouTube channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do. It always helps us. In fact, it would really help us if we could score another 66. It's strange that it's exactly 66. Order 66 comes to mind from Star Wars. But we need 66 more YouTube followers to get to the magic 500 number. So if you haven't already, please wander on over to our YouTube channel. There you can actually see our smiling faces instead of just hearing our voices from the pod. And you too could be part of the YouTube community, helping us to reach that magic 500 number. So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. Also tell your friends and ask them to pass it on to their sci-fi friends. And help us pump those numbers up. That would really give us a kickstart in the YouTube metrics. So please do that.
Awesome. And one of the things that I find really fascinating too is that you could actually comment on the videos. And one of the cool things about that I find about that is the fact that you can isolate the conversation to the IP that is being covered on the video. And I pretty much are engaged on there. So if you leave a comment below, I will definitely respond, and we can have a conversation around that thing.
And of course, remember, if you want to join our Discord, you will find a Discord link in the show notes underneath the podcast. And we will be throwing up a link at the end of the show for Discord, where you can just scan that into your phone and immediately join. Of course, you will need the Discord app on your computer or your tablet or your phone or whatever you're using to view or listen to us at the moment. But once you've got that sorted out and you've set yourself up an account, you can join not only our Discord channel, but there's hundreds, probably thousands now, the Discord channels to do with sci-fi. There's certainly at least 4 or 5 to do with Alita, which is I'm members of, and all sorts of other communities there that you can join and chat with and make new friends. So check it out. Discord's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's a good thing you mentioned that, because I guess I want to make it clear if it wasn't clear enough. This is sci-fi is not ours, right? It's a passion project that I started, but it belongs to the community, and this is pretty much the way that I look at it. So this is sci-fi is my way to try to join the sci-fi community as a whole, disregarding the silos and inviting those silos into it, so we can all have a holistic conversation about sci-fi. So here you will have a Star Wars fan talking to a Star Trek fan and have conversations about, maybe the differences or what or how they are alike. And so on. I mean, we have so many other IPs. And that's basically what I envision is this is uh, created for the community, and it belongs to the community. And although our Discord is branded for us, there is it's kind of like around the same thing. It's kind of like what you mentioned, Ray. It's kind of like a gateway
Yeah.
into sci-fi. So once you get there, you'll find other discords. We have a few members that are member or discords that have their own discords that are related to sci-fi. So if you find interest in what they do, you can join theirs, and kind of grow the community. The sci-fi community, which by the way, I have to admit, the community as a whole is amazing, and I really really appreciate you guys for being as amazing as you, and as I want to say this, not as toxic as other communities that I've seen, and I think it's because of the passion and the love that we have for the things that we love when it comes to sci-fi. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so the next segment. And I am wanting to surprise Chaos, and I can never do that, even since we started the shout outs. And now is actually worse because he's not here. So
Yes, he's gone bush in the Dominican Republic to visit his grandma up in the back country. So he has very little internet and often no electricity.
yes,
So he's having fun.
Yeah,
He's roughing it.
No air conditioning, and the heat is as much as in Australia. So yes, that's not
I do not recommend.
1 star. Anyways, I in the shout out section, I really want to shout out my 2 nieces. They actually surprised me when they came in for Thanksgiving, uh, because they actually are subscribers of our YouTube channel. So thank you,
Thank you.
my 2 nieces, Madison and Allison. Thank you. And we have new subscribers. It's piling up, so we really really appreciate it, and hopefully we can get to the magic number of 500. But the last subscribers that we noticed here, we have Jeremy Hunter from YouTube. We have Ken Stock, and we have Amber Stratten, which I was really curious because of the last name, and I see. I be,
That's right.
yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yes, yes, it is. And I think she is a Galaxina cosplayer.
Oh, cool.
So that was really cool. So I appreciate you guys subbing to our channel. And if you're listening to this and you are not a subscriber, please help us out. Just subscribe it, tell your friends, tell your family, log into your parents' computer and, sub from there.
I think that'll be a bit surprising when they find that they're sub to a channel they didn't recognize.
Yeah, they'll be wondering, why am I getting all these notifications? But all jokes aside, help us out. If you are watching this and you're not a subscriber, subscribe. ring the bell, and join the conversation. Join the sci-fi movement. Okay. So I think we're ready for the next segment. Do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next segment is
The Alita Army News.
See, it sounds like you're better already. Oh dear. So yeah, Leader Army's chugging along. We're up to episode 242, and the topic this week was if you were a leader, would you stay with Figure 4 or prefer another character from the mangas? Now, I love to throw these topics in because they get some real spirited discussion, shall we say, going. There's the people who say, you got to stick to canon, and the only one that's right for a leader is Figure 4. Yeah, need to read the mangas, by the way. You can find them for free online at what's it called? Internet Archive. Yeah, so you can find them at the Internet Archive. Well worth a read. Would prefer, if you get really interested in them, that you do support the if you look just above my head, just there, that's the original Takabon volumes from the 90s, released by Viz, and you can't quite see it, but next to them is a big box set of the same thing but released by Cadentia, which had a different the artwork and the paper is excellent, but the translation is different. So you do actually get a different vibe from them. So yeah, I have both because, but they're there. So supporting the original author is always very important because he's still going. And in fact, there was news just this week that the current series that he's working on, called Mars Chronicles, is coming to an end very shortly. In a couple of chapters, and then he will be starting a new Alita series. So don't know any details, but looking forward to that. I mean, he's a year older than I am. He's still cooking after 35 years of Alita. He's still writing and drawing Alita. So that's awesome that there's going to be more and something new happening in the world of the Alita manga. So series number 4. Looking forward to that. But yeah, there was lots of people who had lots of different ideas about who a leader should get with, including shipping her with Lou, who was her controller up in Zalem. Lots of different ideas and spirited discussion. You can check that out. It's episode 242 on the Alita Army YouTube channel. Which is now, it was a live stream, but it's now as a recording. So if you're interested in that one, do check it out. We always appreciate new viewers and new ideas and new takes on things. Do leave us a message, as you can do underneath that episode in the comments. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we are as ready as we're ever going to be.
This is true, but our listeners may not be ready. Now, this one is available for free on YouTube. It's a movie short. It's called Flite, spelled Flite. It was originally released in 23, but most of the online streaming versions were 24. But do check it out. It's 15 minutes long. Doesn't take long to watch. And then come back, because we are spoiling the crap out of it. As you know, that's what we do. So go and watch it. We'll wait. And then come back and join our conversation here. And of course, if you have comments to make, do join our Discord and talk about it there. But I picked this one out, so I might lead off if you don't mind. So this is actually, now it kind of falls in that gray zone between sci-fi that's, general viewing sci-fi and an anime, because it's actually was completely generated using the Unreal Engine. Did you realize that, Robert?
I know there was some minor uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And I knew something was going up, but it was really good because for most of the movie, I could sworn that I was watching an actual person,
Yeah.
except for
Well,
the
actually,
close-ups.
the models that they used for the people were modeled off the people who were the voice actors.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I've seen enough of these, even after they're modeled, to where most of the scenes, there's something doesn't add up visually. And it's I don't know if it's probably a testament to the Unreal Engine, because that the Ultra Human, I think, which they announced a couple of years ago, that is really impressive, and I can't wait to actually see these on game consoles. I'm afraid that we might be a couple of years out because the hardware has to catch up with the power that required for that. But it has to be a testament to the Unreal Engine in part, because they look like humans.
Well, I mean, we covered the very early days of fully computer generated movies when we covered now what was it? My brain doesn't want to tell me. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within,
Oh yes.
and that had plenty of uncanny valley, but still, it was a huge effort. And the number of PCs that they used, like I think they had a rate of 1,000 PCs, and it took them the equivalent of like 230 something years worth of rendering.
And, and,
Uh,
and just to put in perspective, we're talking about Pentium machines.
yeah, this was back in the late 90s that they did this. So that was like over 25 years ago now. So
Yeah.
a while back. And now they probably use like one or two PCs to do this, and high-end PCs with the Unreal Engine. So I mean, times have changed, things have changed. Uh, the amount of money and time and effort that they put into this was probably hardware-wise significantly less than it was required for the original efforts back then. But I mean, this is 15 minutes versus a full-length movie, so there is that as well.
It wouldn't
But
it wouldn't surprise me because most machines now, with the machines that Apple just released, like the Apple Studio and the new Mac Mini, um, with the latest M chip from Apple. I
M4, yeah.
The M4. I seen some renderings, examples on videos, and it is really impressive.
Mm.
It's really
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to expect that things are going to trickle down and improvements are going to be made. I mean, the only reason I know that it's the M4 is because I had to replace my 13-inch iPad because it just cucked and died. My son beat it to death before he got his own one. I'm not a young man. My eyes aren't as great as they used to be, so I need a big screen so I can see what's going on. And yeah, I got the latest 13-inch iPad with the M4 2024 chip on it, and it's the iPad Pro, and it is sweet, and it's so light. It's amazing. Living in the future,
Oh yeah.
as it were.
We're getting closer and closer to 2001.
That was a while back though. they over predicted, I feel.
Yeah, but have
In
you
a lot
seen
of ways.
the iPads that they had there? Like, we still don't have them. I want those. They're like paper thin.
Yeah.
So
Hello, random shout out.
Eh,
That's interesting.
that was me moving my keyboard.
Oops.
So
See, even when chaos isn't here, we still have chaos.
yeah, it stays. I think it lingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would probably take
So
here with that chaos, so we don't have any chaos. It has to like
yeah.
dissipate out into the universe.
Wow. His spirits. He's here in spirit, if not physically. So going back to the actual IP, Flite is the directorial and writing debut of Oscar winner VFX supervisor Tim Weber, who worked on Gravity and Dark Knight, two very good movies. The stars of it, they've had some other works that they've been in, which have been quite interesting as well. And of course, using the Unreal Engine to recreate the people and the look of the people who were the stars is very interesting. In that you get a feeling of the person still within the work and not just their voice. So I found it very interesting. Now, it's only 15 minutes long, and it doesn't have a huge wow factor, but I don't think they were going for that. I think they were going for, this is not very far in the future, and it's just situation normal. Like, this is normal future, not wow future, if you get the difference. Do you understand what I mean by that, Robert?
Yes. Yeah, and I do apologize. I was looking up the what I assumed they were using. I'm not sure, but I knew that I misnamed it, so I was looking it up. It is actually called MetaHuman, and they do have a free, kind of like a trial that you can get, where they this product allows you to create, and they call it MetaHuman for that reason. It is an online human. It looks very, very realistic, all the way to the tiny little hairs on the eyelashes. If you're not familiar with it, look for MetaHuman on Google, and it'll take you to the Unreal Engine website. I think it's the Unreal Engine 5, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 5. So yeah, I do apologize. I was looking it up. I just wanted to make sure that I had that corrected. So I think I know what you were talking about. And again, we're kind of skipping the first question that we normally ask because um, I watched it today, and I'm freshly. How can I say this? I was working today, and right after work, I watched this on the watch party. Which, by the way, if you're not on our Discord, join up. You can join our watch parties and watch the thing with us. Um, but I watched this thing and then we started recording the episode. So I am still processing it. I don't know. I think.
Deep thinking takes time, folks.
Huh? And if you listen to this episode long enough, you're probably seeing some of the episodes where I watch a thing that we're covering, and I have the same thought. Something that I just watched recently, and I'm the best description that I can give it is, a deer and the headlights. Kind of like that. I know that's probably extreme, right? Because it's not that extreme. But it's kind of like the only thing that I can think of that would describe the feeling. It is really cool visuals, really, really impressive visuals, and more so knowing that it was using Unreal Engine. But I'm still processing it. um, was this the first time you watched it as well, or did you watch this earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
No, well, to be brutally honest, because Gio's out of the country and Robert's been unwell, we're running behind with our recordings, and I was asked to find something short and interesting that we could just jump on and do an episode for. So that was the brief, and I looked at the other outings within the movie Tales from the Apocalypse, and I just thought none of them really floated my boat. We basically covered the first one and the last one, which were the standouts. And I thought the other ones just really didn't cut it. And then I just, because Google's got an AI feature now, I love getting sort of weird and wonderful recommendations from it. And I said, best best sci-fi short 2024, and it immediately came up with this Flite, and I thought, okay, well, an AI's recommended it to me. I'll give it a shot, and I quite liked it.
Yeah.
It's not what I call underwhelming. It's just this is the future, and we're not going to make a big deal about anything. Everything just feels normal and part of the background. And that's what the future really is going to be. It's going to be situation normal every day, but with cool sci-fi shit.
Yeah.
That's how this feels. And I think the director writer did a really good job of that. In that, that's how it feels. It feels just like part of the background, and that's what all these little things are going to be. It's like, well, that's cool, but that's just how it is, and that's how it, and that's how it. Well, Robert, that's what you said to me. You said it wasn't underwhelming, but it just felt like situation normal. And I'm going, yes, I think that's what they went for.
Yeah. I maybe something funny just came to mind, but maybe my brain is glitching from watching this. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. This is an experience that I am very, very, very curious. If you guys out there listening to the show, um, hopefully by now you have watched the short film, 14 minutes, including the text. Um, and comment below on this message on this video if you're watching it on YouTube, or reach out to us on Discord and let us know what you think. What is your first experience? And I'm gonna throw this question out to you out there listening to the show. If you're listening to the pod on your podcatcher, or just watching our YouTube channel, um, when was it that you watched this for the first time? Was it prior to us recommending it? Was it after, or did you watch it during? You paused us and you went to watch it and came back to us. And then, what was your first impression? I want to know, because it's notice. I mean, you could see if you're watching on YouTube, you could see my face. I'm glitching. I'm actually glitching. Um, the visuals are incredible.
Yes.
And I want to know if you find, I mean, there was a couple of scenes, like one scene that comes to mind is when the delivery guy came face to face with the bad guy, the guy that had the skater, I guess, not necessarily kidnapped, but trapped in this apartment. They come face to face. There was some slight uncanny valley on that scene when you're seeing this guy's face. But to be honest with you, it's the only time that I see it. But it is so good, right? That I would not have known that I'm watching CGI until you mentioned it, Ray.
Yep.
I knew something was wrong. But again, like I told you, I haven't had time to process. I just watched this thing. I'm still chewing the information. Mr. Overthinker here. I need some time to crack up, to crank it up through this computer, this quantum.
You've been unwell too, so that slows the thinking down a little.
But it is impressive to me knowing that this is done in CGI, and it's all rendered. There was, obviously, they're models. You scan your face and you model yourself. But it is well done to the point where I was fooled, thinking that this was, your typical sci-fi short. You have an actor and they put CGI around it. Like, for example, her leg. She has a really cool, by the way, really cool prosthetic. Was it that I think
From the knee down.
from the knee down? Yeah. Um, and of course the buildings and the scenery, all this stuff. I was thinking is CGI, but I'm thinking the actors are real, and I'm shocked. But I'm not surprised seeing the kind of stuff that. And I welcome you guys to go on YouTube and look for MetaHuman. There's tons of videos where they show you. There's tutorials if you want to do your own. But just kind of look at the Unreal Engine's announcement of Metal Human, and they're really impressive. They have like voice actors right on stage, kind of like um, it makes me wonder, right? Knowing how Alita was filmed,
Mm.
because they were able to, and I don't know how they did this, if it was for like just a camera and sensing the actors, because you don't have those sensors. And they had this actor on a podium, reading some lines, the voice actor, and it was just a camera. And you see on the big screen behind the voice actor, there was the render um, metahuman. Just you couldn't swear it wasn't real, and they're just I want to say mimicking the gestures and the voice of the voice actor, and on the fly, which is something that really impressed me. I don't know if you watched this, Ray. If you haven't, I invite you to look it up. But
No, I haven't seen that one.
the guy that was presenting kind of flipped, and they were going through different models as the voice actor was reading the lines. So all of a sudden, you see different images, different humans, quote unquote, on the screen with the same voice and the same mannerisms as the voice actor. That was really impressive to me. And one of the things that impressed me the most is the render time. They actually did a demo right on that video. And the render times were incredible. I mean, you would think it would take you, days to render something like that, but it is incredibly fast. So just look up um, MetaHuman demo. Um, I think that's how it's called. But I'm sure that if you put MetaHuman on YouTube, you'll find tons of those. And this is back when they were announcing it for the first time. I was shocked. So going back to this film, I and again, I don't know if this is what they used. I honestly haven't researched, but it makes sense that it would be something like this if it was a short film, an indie, um, because you could do it with very little resources, as long as you have a powerful computer that can run the Unreal Engine. So I'm assuming, and if you know otherwise, please reach out and let us know. I'm going to assume that this is what they're using because it's the only technology that I can think that would make something like this happen. Because I was fooled. I was actually fooled. I watched this whole thing thinking they're actors. And yeah, they are actors. What I mean is, um, these actors were rendered and not humans that were filmed. So it is. How did you came about finding out that Ray, that these were rendered, and were you fooled? That is, if you watched it prior to research.
I read about it in the notes underneath the YouTube after I'd watched it, like when the credits were rolling. I read and I went, oh shit, that was in that was in Unreal Engine. Wow. And apparently it's won 4 awards. The Holly Shorts Film Festival, winner best genre. Soho London Independent Film Festival 2024 winner, the jury prize for best animation. The Ignite Film Festival 2023 winner, best post-production and best score. So yeah, it's won some awards.
Nice.
But yeah, I noticed a little bit of Uncanny Valley when the bad guy walked in, as you did. But the interesting thing is, I would be interested to get a behind the scenes on this and see how they worked it, because I do know that Alita Battle Angel, for every scene they had 20 cameras to get all the positional data and the 3D data that they used to create the 3D version of Alita Battle Angel. So I don't suspect that they had that many cameras and things going on here, but I mean, we don't have a plot for this because it's a short. The only thing we have is the description, which is in London 2053, a world champion hoverboarder finds herself imprisoned in a skyscraper by her obsessive manager. She engineers an ingenious high-rise escape, but soon finds herself riding for her life. So, I mean, if you haven't watched this yet, go back and watch it because we are spoiling the crap out of it. But there are a lot of scenes of high-speed, sort of parkourish hoverboard riding, which would have been very interesting to film and then place into the environment in which it occurs in the short. And that was the thing that really drew me to it. And I said, hey, we've got to do this because technologically it was impressive. And visually, it was impressive with the sort of parkour hoverboard riding. And it immediately threw me back to the 2006 James Bond movie, Casino Royale, which started out with a whole bunch of parkour, which obviously wasn't CGI. It was done as gantry high-rise special effects. With stuntmen and all sorts of shit like that. But obviously this one had the same feel, but it was all done with CGI in the Unreal Engine. So I found that very interesting that you could get the same feel with two completely different techniques. So yeah, I was really impressed.
Let me add before you move on that based on my research so far, and I haven't dig in too deeply into it, when you use MetaHuman, the easiest way right now is to use the pre-designed models. They have tons of models that you can pick to do your project. And I mean, if you're curious, you can join in. I think it's free to do it and when you sign up and stuff like that. Of course, it's a different story if you want to get it to do your own projects. Then you probably have to purchase the product. But it what I found out so far is the major work is in the scanning of the person, and not sure exactly, but I believe MetaHuman uses AI when doing the movements and all this stuff once the model is scanned. But I think the major work is actually scanning the models. So you would probably use, like you mentioned, 20 or more so cameras to scan and in different positions. I think I saw a video where they were doing, that's why it's better to, like, if you want to play around, to just get one of the models because they already did all that for you. But I saw a video with I think Will I Am from Black Eyed Peas. They were doing an AI version of him, and they decided to use MetaHuman. It was a whole session where they had him on this room full of cameras. He's in the center, and he got to do a lot of like um, facial expressions to get recorded in MetaHuman, so they can like render it with AI to his voice. So yeah, I think the major work would be scanning it. So it would be kind of like the same thing as Alita. The only difference is in Alita they were doing it as they filmed. They were recording all the facial expressions with all those cameras. But
there was a huge amount of work done after, like post-production, to pull Alita together. And you had one character who was completely CGI throughout the entire movie, which was a lot of work. And then you had all of the backgrounds and the cityscapes and the motorballers who were all cyborgs and everything. So it was a huge amount of work. But even in the time that's elapsed, like 5 going on 6 years since that movie came out, and of course the time was before that they were doing the work to create it. There's been advancements in the technology, and this stuff didn't exist then, and now it does.
So that's the reason why I was bringing it up, and I'm kind of curious to see if like when and notice how I said this, wink wink, when Alita 2 comes out, wink wink, I wonder if they will be able to leverage this technology, because it makes sense that it would make their life a lot easier when doing this, when if they can do this with this, because like you said, this product was not available when Alita was filmed. So it makes
Well, I mean, the way they've talked about it, that they're bouncing the technology and the methods back and forth between Alita and Avatar, and of course, being so high end, I'm sure that Weta has their own production line and their own unique software and all that sort of stuff. So I suspect that they wouldn't use this, but they might use some of the methods that have been used in their own pipeline. But I suspect that their pipeline has been constantly improving, and the overheads are getting cheaper all the time. So, a liter cost about 200 million to make. The cost to investors was about 160, 155 million. But I think that the price will go down now that time has elapsed and more work has been done with Avatar. It'll be getting cheaper and quicker.
Yeah,
over and over again.
Unreal is going after that. I seen some films where they have their credit at the end, so they'll be going after big budget films with this product. Like any other company, you want to make money, so you got to pitch it.
For sure. I mean, presuming you've watched this, because it's 15 minutes, why wouldn't you have? But the hoverboarding, she's hoverboarding across the sides of buildings and the top of buildings, and goes down onto London Bridge, and she's zooming back and forth there. You've got police in jetpacks zooming around, chasing her. That was cool. But they're like corrupt cops, because they're doing what the manager said. What am I paying you for? So that they're corrupt cops. And the technology that they're sort of talking about with the drones was really cool. And the fact that they ran out of power, which was great, because they had limitations. You want the technology to feel real and have its own limitations. So that was good as well.
You notice the technology that the cops use for the jetpacks, they're not your typical futuristic or the vision of the future, things that we see, say, for example, in The Rocketeer, which is a vision of the future, or any of those sci-fi jetpacks that we could see, like the ones that we see in Tomorrowland, which, great film, by the way, we got to cover it. But these ones are modeled after the actual rocket packs that we see on YouTube. They have, the ones that you have the handle on your hand, and you have kind of like you're leveling 3, maybe 4 rockets, one in each hand and one in the back, which makes sense because it allows you to control, your going up or down, or your pitch turning left or right, depending on where you move your hands. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm like, this is futuristic, but it actually plays into what you mentioned earlier on the show, where it's basically the same with cooler tools. It's they're getting what we have now and kick it up a notch.
Well, the future generally doesn't come in explosive bursts. You get it's evolution, not revolution, is the sort of saying. And these things come in little incremental improvements, which is deliberate most of the time with suppliers, because they want to keep leveraging what they've already got production lines for. So they tweak it rather than make it a revolution where they've got to produce a whole new production line to produce the technology. Of course, there will be revolutions occasionally, but generally it's evolution of something existing, so they get more value out of what they've already created. That's why you get incremental improvements in software, not revolutions, because they're leveraging what they've already got.
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things about this film is it is big time sci-fi. It is definitely the future, but it just like you mentioned, it feels like the future is the background, and you're there, right? It's real. It's and that's really really cool.
And I have to say, with sort of not leveraging the sci-fi so much, but the characterizations were really good as well. You only had 15 minutes to get to know these characters, and yet the poor delivery guy, well, he was actually a window cleaner, but he was talked into helping the girl trapped in the skyscraper, and faking being a delivery guy and delivering her a laser cutter so that she could cut the supports on the statue and smash it through the window so she could escape. When he walked in the door and he was looking at all the cool stuff on the walls of the entryway, and then the door closed and it went clunk, 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 clunk. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is a prison. This is a high-tech prison.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
The characterizations, the delivery guy going, our quote basically that was at the very beginning of the short film, where the guy's freaking out saying, I think I saw somebody die and I need some help to try and work out what's going on. That was really cool. The whole, we can go back into your memories and look at what was happening and try and work out if she died or not. But again, it was the whole, we can view your memories in a virtual space kind of thing, which is very sci-fi as well. And it's a whole nother level of sci-fi that we haven't spoken to or about yet. Yeah. So, I mean, this is 15 minutes, but it had a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, I have to admit, I really like how they they progress through the story. Mm-hmm. When I press play for the first time, and you hear, obviously I thought something was wrong with the video though, because I heard the sounds, and there was just a black screen, and then it makes sense to you. I like how they played it with this, and again, this is like you mentioned. This is the quote at the beginning of this episode, where you have this panicked person talking to someone on the phone about seeing someone died, and you're like, okay, what's going? And now, as soon as they mention reading your mind, it's like, okay, I am hooked. What is going on? What is this? And they use that that is, I think, a great hook.
Oh yeah.
To grab someone and then keep him. Well, considering this movie is only 14 minutes long, but even if it's used on a 2-hour film, I don't think I've seen something like this hooked. And it makes me wonder, maybe it's not coming to mind. I'm sure that there has been some, but it makes me wonder if this is something that you need to do since it is a 14-minute film. But I don't think it's needed, because since it's such a short film, you could actually spend this, even if the film is bad, and just move on to something else. It's only 15 minutes. It's not like a 2-hour film that you won't get back. So it makes me, I'm in the fence on that, and I don't know what is your thought. Like, is that needed, or does it really matter?
I know. I thought it was really well put together in that, you've got this panicked guy who is completely out of his depth, obviously, with what's happened. So obviously he did manage to get out of there eventually. But I just thought it was really well put together with the technology and the going back into his memories and trying to work out what happened. And then you see that he was trapped in the apartment where she'd managed to escape. But because the bad guy had drones following her and filming her, he's watching the screen of what's going on outside with her, and then the vision of the shot flows into that screen, and then you're following her as if you're the drone. So I thought that they really put that together well. It's like chef's kiss for how it all tied together.
Yeah.
And then she goes down onto London Bridge and she's being chased by the cops. And, you know, the motorcyclist comes zooming through the traffic, as they always do. And she's got to like jump out of the way of that. And when she pushes the hoverboard under the fence, under the railing, and jumps over the railing and lands back on the hoverboard, and she does it again with a car. And when the description of the short says she's a world champion hoverboarder, it explains why she can hoverboard down the side of a building and do all this freaky shit because she's a world champion. Obviously, she's had an accident in her ridiculous parkoury hoverboarding, which cost her the bottom part of her leg, but she's got a replacement. And it's all there. It's all in the narrative, how it all comes together. And it's complex, but it flows. And I thought it was really well done. I think that this is 14 minutes well spent.
Yeah.
Watching it. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really well done. It's a great almost tech demo, but it's also a great story. And there was a lot of comments under the version of it that I watched on YouTube that said, geez, I wish this went for longer. I want to know what happens next.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Because it was really engaging, I thought. And it wasn't engaging in that, wow, this looks fantastic, amazing, rah, rah, rah kind of way. It was engaging in that, well, this is a really good story, and it feels grounded, like a grounded future. I've mentioned this where you get the shiny towers, sort of magical, scientific, high fidelity future that just feels too good to be true. And I got to say that there are points in shows like Fifth Element that kind of feel a bit that way, that it's, you know, very 2001 AD kind of future feeling with the massively tall towers and all the flying vehicles and everything. It feels a long way from what we're used to. But then you get these futures that feel grounded because they have a lot of what we understand and know and expect. And this is one of those. Like iRobot had a lot of future that was mixed with the present. So you could feel that it evolved from the present. It didn't just plop down fully formed as a future, which can throw you because it doesn't feel natural. It feels forced. Like it's revolution, not evolution of the future. This is an evolution of the future, which I appreciate because it felt like it had a lot of present day stuff in it as well as futuristic stuff. I did like the door buzzer thing as well, because did you notice that he had to put his thumbprint on there? So it's recorded his thumbprint. It knows who was there. But then it had the video of the guy, like the 3D render video that popped out of the door. That was cool.
Yeah. And it sounds natural because I've seen some of the stuff that is being done right now when it comes to like holographic imaging, and it looks kind of like that what I've seen for today. So it's even grounded in that. They didn't go and do like something like outlandish, which they could because it's a sci-fi, but it made it look more real. Can we talk about the parkouring?
Oh, sure.
I think my heart rate went up.
Sorry.
I am. Let me clear this out, right? I am not afraid of heights, right?
That makes one of us.
I fly a plane for crying out loud, so I'm not afraid of heights. But that was nerve wracking. As soon as she went off the building on the hoverboard, and you're like, okay, did she throw herself out? I mean, how is she going to land? Like that building looks really high, so she's going to die. And then you discover, no, she went on a ledge because, you know, the camera pans onto her. But the ledge, she's like hoverboarding on that ledge. And I kept on expecting that she would, because it wasn't stable. You see that hoverboard just moving back and forth, so you were expecting it for it to go over the ledge, and there was a moment where she went over the ledge, and it's like, okay, that's it, she's dead. But there was another ledge on the bottom.
Well, what you've got to remember is that they set you up to be nervous about this because at the very beginning he said, "I watched somebody die." Right, so you're waiting for the payoff
Yes.
of that statement. And when she's doing shit that's dangerous, like nobody would be wanting to be up there on the outside of a building to start with because it's freaking dangerous. One slip and you're dead.
Yeah.
But she's doing it on a freaking hoverboard. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're waiting for the payoff to that. I watched somebody die. So that actually cranked up your nervousness. They played you, Robert.
Yes, they did. They did. Because
They played you.
I was expecting, okay, when is that shoe going to drop? Is it now? Is it now? No, it's not now. Oh, it's now. It's now. No, it's not now.
That was very good writing. They played you. They set you up waiting for her to die. And then that cranks up the nervousness. It was very smart writing.
And in the end, we don't even know. Did she? Did she not? And that's
well, no. Well, we know because at the very end she pulled herself up with the hoverboard off the edge of whatever that thing was. I think it was some sort of turbine which was sucking in the water and using it to create electricity or something like that from the Thames.
Yeah.
So obviously if she'd fallen down into that vortex, she would have been cactus.
Yes.
But they worked out that she managed to land on that walkway on the stairs and get herself over onto a safer part of the structure. So, and then you see her pull herself up at the end. So she survived. She didn't die.
Yeah. That's
but you don't know that during the length of the story. So they keep you on tenterhooks. It was good writing. It was really good writing.
So is Robert approved, right? Mr. Admiral Happy Endings here.
Yes. Yes, it was. But it was a great story. It was good writing. The technology was all there. The futuristic payoffs were all there. I really liked it. I really thought it was a good piece of work, and it's won awards. So
yeah, it was really good. And I am with the commenters in there where they want to know more, because that's pretty much where it ends, right? She's dragging herself out of whatever that thing is, and then it ends, right? So you want to know now what's going to happen, because that the so-called bad guy was in the room with the panic guy. And towards the end, when he said, like, I'm going to go drag her out, or I can't remember the actual words that he used, but as he was walking by the panic guy that was on the floor because he beat him up, he got some sort of syringe and injected it on his feet. And we could
that was the stuff that she injected into his head so that he could go into that mindscape and review his memories, but that screwed up his vision.
Yeah.
So he was suffering from visual problems, and he jabbed that stuff into the guy's foot so it would mess up his vision, and then he'd have level playing field kind of deal.
Yeah, and you can kind of see, and I think it's very, very well done, because we're looking at this from the perspective of the guy that was in the chair. So it is not a clear image, but we kind of see this bad guy was staggering after the injection. So something happened, but you can't see because all you see is the feet. So
I think it was really well put together. It evoked emotions of concern about people dying just from that statement at the very beginning. I think I saw somebody die. I think she died. And so you're waiting for that to happen. You're waiting for the shoe to drop. I think they really did a good job of heightening your emotions and the fear factor of the show. It was really well put together, I thought, in many ways.
They actually did. I really, really enjoyed it.
That's kind of like my last comment, really. We sort of drifted into the last comment zone.
Awesome. Uh, I guess we should go for that. My last thoughts. This film is well worth it. I would echo what you said. It's well worth the 14 minutes. Um, Obviously, I want more. It's kind of hard to expect that we will get more because that's just the nature of the beast on these short films. Um, but it is well worth it. It was well written, well executed. For many of the points that we have discussed, including what we just recently discussed, and how they set you up, to when is she going to die? If she, in fact she dies, when is it going to happen? Um, if you have not watched it by now, please go watch it, and let us know what you think. Um, I enjoyed it. I'm still processing the film. I just watched it today. I'm sure that I'll probably have a lot more to say once I have more time to process what I just saw. But the film was very impressive for many reasons that we have discussed earlier. Reasons like how the film was rendered completely. We don't know like if they use MetaHuman, but we know they used Unreal Engine. The writing on the film, um, it is well worth it, and I wonder if you watch it, if you can come back to us. You can do it right here on this video. Go into the comment section below and write your comments and let us know what you think. I'm like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm really really curious to hear your thoughts on this one because I'm just chewing the information still.
Well, Robert will have more to say probably, but you can catch that on our Discord. As we mentioned earlier in the episode, lots of ways to join us on Discord there. I actually have the QR code, so I will throw that up. There we go. So you can scan that one in if you're watching the YouTube. And if you're not, check the show notes because the Discord link invite is there as well.
Awesome.
And we'll have more to say about it there when we've had a bit of a think about it. But we needed to get an app out, so here it is. We got one.
Nice. Did you wanted to chime in before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I've kind of wrapped up on this one, but echoing you echoing me, bit of an echo chamber today, but you get that sometimes. But yeah, I think it was a great little effort. I would like to see more, but it's fairly encapsulated in what it is, and it's got a lot of depth to it. There's all sorts of little things going on, the little tricks they use to suck you in and get you on the edge of your seat, and it keeps you there. And the bad guy doesn't give up. He keeps coming at them, and the guy who was a window washer, but now he's complicit in the escape, keeps trying to help this girl. It's a great little story. I thought it was well worth the time, and I think I want to go back and watch it again because in the discussion of it, I've discovered a few things about the way the story was put together that I want to go back and sort of watch again and think about for my own work because this is really well crafted. I mean, the only problem I had with it was a little bit of uncanny valley on Geth Anthony's face, who plays Johnny, the bad guy, when he's first introduced. There's a little bit of didn't quite render properly, but other than that, it's just fantastic. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're ready for the next segment.
As ready as I'll ever be.
The science in sci-fi.
So, I mean, we haven't had a lot of time to process this, as we've mentioned. So the science is kind of there's actually a lot of science in this, from the display systems that they're using on the screen, the drone technology that they're sort of suggesting with the way the drones were working. They were pretty cool. Hoverboarding obviously is a big one. We've covered a lot of hoverboarding stuff in Back to the Future Part 2 that we covered, which has a lot of hoverboard things in it. I tried to dig up more about hoverboards in 2024, and most of what I'm getting is the stuff that they released in 2010. The device that they called a hoverboard, which is actually the footboard with the two wheels that you can sort of ride around and you lean to steer it, but it's not actually hovering. It's just it's sort of like a skateboard that's been moved 180 degrees and the wheels are on the outside now. But it's called a hoverboard, but that's it's not a technological name. It's a brand name, and it doesn't actually describe what the thing does, which is unfortunate. There is a fair amount of discussion going on about hoverboards in places like sites like Quora, and a few others. But the big issue with hoverboards is getting the thing to do anti-gravity on its own. Now, we do know that anti-gravity is possible using maglev, but the requirements are fairly heavy in that it requires a copper floor to use that technology effectively. And of course, you're not going to have copper floors out in the real world. They do have limited use of anti-grav, like maglev technology, in some warehouses. They've put copper floors down and they're using hover pallets to move materials around using maglev technology, but it is somewhat limited because of the expense of the copper. Copper is not cheap these days. So there's a limitation there. And of course, you're limited to where the copper flooring is to actually get the thing to work. The hover technology, and I don't call it anti-grav, but I call it hover, using other technologies like high pressure air or high pressure water is moving along in 2024. There's been examples of those sorts of technologies looking promising, but they're not fully baked yet. So there's severe limitations. Like obviously the high pressure water version needs a water supply nearby. So oftentimes there's a long hose which runs down into like a dam or something like that. So you can use it to fly around over water, but you can't go away from the water because then you lose your water supply and it stops working. There are hoverboard versions that use like turboprops and fans and things like that to keep you up, which of course then the limitation is the battery life of the board itself, which is requiring the turboprops to keep you up. And of course, the other issue, which has always been a problem with these sorts of things, where there's a lack of surface friction to give you an ability to steer, is steering the thing and not like face planting into stuff at high speeds. Because if you don't have friction, you don't have a convenient way to control your thrust and control direction, which is, if you've ever ridden a skateboard, and most people have, or even like a go-kart or something like that, you need the friction of the surface to give you a way to push against and steer. If you don't have that friction, you're sliding all over the joint, and it really is a whole nother level of complexity and skill to keep these things going in the direction you want and not to faceplant into walls, trees, and other objects which you don't have the surface to conveniently use to steer around. Imagine if you've ever done downhill skiing. you've got the surface tension and the surface connection of the snow with your skis to allow you to steer. That allows you to change course, to chop and move around. If you know anything about skiing, and of course I'm only talking from an outside perspective because I've never skied myself, but it's more a case of you use the snow to steer yourself because you've got the ability to chop and the ability to change directions and use that to slow yourself down and otherwise steer around obstacles. If you're hovering downhill, and some people do when they go really, really fast on skis, they suddenly discover steering is a whole nother kettle of fish. So it is quite a complex system of steering and attenuating your current speed to be able to change course and do that safely.
I have a message for CERN.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I have a message for CERN.
Okay.
Especially Elena is the antimatter factory.
Oh, yes.
So CERN, please hurry up. We need anti-gravity. So NASA will thank you. Humanity will thank you. So CERN, please. You got antimatter now. Just move on to anti-gravity, please.
Well, actually, I when I was doing research for this, I did see a paper. I didn't stop to read it, but it was saying, now that we have antimatter, does it directly create anti-gravity? I didn't read it, but I got to look into that.
It kind of makes sense. Huh.
Yeah, I'll do some more research in that.
I gotta look at that article. I gotta look at the article that and read it because now I'm curious. I never really thought about it that way. It's I was watching a documentary about how the Hadron Collider works, and it is scary. How they crash matter antimatter together.
Mm.
If you are a sci-fi fan to the level that we are, and you follow enough stories, you know that antimatter and matter don't mix. It's really bad if they mix.
Well, they annihilate each other and produce huge amounts of energy, which is basically the theory behind how faster than light travel works in Star Trek.
Mhm. Mhm.
And as you have mentioned in previous Science Behind Science Fictions, Robert, your very self, that the original level of energy they thought would be required to go faster than light was more than the entire universe. And now they've got it down to energy the size of Jupiter.
Mhm.
Now, if you're going to need that much energy, having something like a matter-antimatter reaction would be pretty useful, producing huge amounts of energies that would be required to then go faster than light. So, I mean, these things as a energy source and a method of using that energy to do something we really would like to do, which is go faster than light, because the tyranny of distance in space is the big thing, which is stopping us from meeting extraterrestrials because you've got to get to where they are. These two things come together and create a technology which would enable us to then explore the stars and have the first human diaspora. So, these are the things that I'm sure Elon Musk is staying awake at night thinking about with his multi-planetary civilization that he wants. So, I mean, this is all what science is looking at, and scientists are looking forward to try to create so that we do have these opportunities that we currently lack.
Nice. And we need to get out of the void. So, there's that.
Yes. That's going to be another huge issue because, I mean, space is big, really big. And we're talking really big here, the void. Yeah, that's big. So the last thing I wanted to cover was I was asking Google AI about bionic limbs and what are the advances in replacement leg limbs that it can find when it does its massive searches. And it was saying that bionic limbs, limbs that detect electrical signals from the user's muscles and convert them into motions, it allows the control of the limb with their muscle contractions. So there's been some advances in bionic limbs this year. Microprocessor controlled joints that adapt to the user's needs, such as their walking patterns. So they're working on that, which is very interesting because they have limbs at the moment where the joints sort of just move independently and there's no sort of control in how they work. But of course, if you've thought about how your legs move at all, we control the movement of our joints using our muscles. And basically the lower part of the spine controls that. So you don't have to think about walking, you just do it. And it's sort of like almost a separate subsystem in your body that does that sort of thing. And if you've ever gone on a really long walk and got tired, you suddenly realize that you have to think a little bit more about how you're walking because you're starting to get tired. And that's these systems running out of juice. And then you have to use your actual brain to think about your walking, or you start stumbling and going like that. So you can actually feel these things. And then if you've done a really long walk and then you're lying down in bed, you kind of feel like you're still walking because these systems have been used so much that they're still active after you've stopped walking. It's really freaky. But if you do any of that sort of thing, just listen to your body and have a little bit of a think, and you can start feeling how these things work when they're put under pressure. It's really cool.
Wow.
But yeah, there's other areas that they're working on this year, like brain control prosthetics. We've covered that before in the Science Behind Science Fiction. Well, 3D printing of replacement limb sections and prosthetics tailored to the individual user. So rather than buying something off the shelf, 3D printed specific replacement parts, which is an interesting topic.
That is really cool.
Targeted muscle re-innovation. So techniques to enhance muscle signals, which also sounds really cool. And pattern recognition algorithms for muscle movement. So basically, AI enhanced systems which read the patterns of the way your existing leg moves and then reinterpret it for a prosthetic so that you can move more naturally with a prosthesis.
And
shit.
That, yeah. The future of prosthetics, it's really cool.
I mean, look, give it 10, 15 years, you may have AI on your person helping you integrate into prosthesis if you require one.
Yeah.
And that would be cool. I mean, people get worried about the AIs taking over, but they may help you live in the future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything is a double-edged sword, the good and the bad. We just want to try and focus on the good and use it for the good and stop the bad from happening. Everything's like that.
I always say AI is a tool. It's how you use it. I mean,
exactly.
You could use a screwdriver to put something together, as well as stick it to someone and send them to the hospital. It could be a very mundane tool, and it could still be used for evil. Yep. So yeah, AI is a tool.
Well, knives are used to stab people, but they're also used to cut up your meals so you can eat them. I mean,
yeah,
everything has good and bad uses, including people.
Yeah.
But that kind of wraps up what I had for the Science Behind Science Fiction this week. But I mean, this 15-minute show has all these different things in it.
Yes.
I mean, if I'd really had hours and hours and hours to research this, we could have had like another hour's worth of Science Behind Science Fiction just from this one 15-minute show. And that shows a real depth of thought that went into the production of this. The amount of science and future science that they threw in there is quite breathtaking.
I mean, even at this, it's still impressive. I mean, this film is 14 minutes long, and we are at the 1 hour and 30-minute mark on this film. So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Definitely. And of course, if you want to continue the discussion, you're very welcome to. If you have points that we didn't bring up that you feel are discussion worthy, you can join us on our Discord. Hop over there, join up. As we've said a couple of times during the episode, there's a link on the screen now if you're watching us on YouTube. But if you're listening to us on your Podchaser, just have a look in the show notes. You will find an invite link there. Come and join us on Discord. It's very easy. Get the app, set up an account, and away you go. There's a whole world of conversation and discussions and memes and fun stuff will open up for you if you join us on our Discord. So please do. We'd love to have you there. And of course, remember that all of these things, you get out what you put in. So if you show up and just wait for people to talk to you, you may be waiting a while, but start a discussion. We love jumping on other people's discussions. We start our own, but if you've got something to talk about, ask a question, make a statement, see how many people agree with you, see how many think you're full of it, because this is the internet, so you will always find somebody who disagrees with you. That's fine. I mean, no information is absolute. There's always different ways to look at it and different ways to discuss it. We do ask that if you join our Discord that you show respect for other people's opinions and ideas. Certainly, if you have a competing opinion, do present it, but present it in a way which is respectful. That's what we ask. And that way, everybody can enjoy the conversation, even if you agree to disagree. So that's the way we prefer to do it. Rule number one of the internet, don't be a dick. Follow that, and everything will work out fine. Of course, there's other ways to get a hold of our content and contact us. We have a couple of websites, sciencefictionremnant.com, which is our main portal for the podcast. You can pop over there and catch our latest released episode or the back catalogue. You can scroll through that, and there's plenty of them now, isn't there, Robert? How many we got? Do you have a number?
Oh, I lost track. I mean,
it's over 200, 200 and mid 200s at least.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot of content.
That's a lot of content. You will find a lot of classics. You will find a lot of the latest, like this one here. And do have a search through there. You'll find something you're interested in. But do highly recommend that you go and watch it or listen to it or play it or read it first, because we are going to spoil the crap. So you've been warned. If you don't like spoilers, enjoy, then come and join the discussion. And of course, if you watch one of our older pods or older videos, do get on Discord and discuss it with it. We're always willing to go back and have a new look at an old IP. So do join us there. We'd love to have you. But do check out sciencefictionremnant.com. There is also short reads there about topics to do with science and science fiction. They're pretty short, 4 or 5 minutes read each. And of course, we can discuss those on Discord as well. So join us there to discuss those. We'd love to hear from you. We also have a website for creators. This is sci-fi.net. It's in its early stages. So if you want to get in on the ground floor and be part of that, do join that website and give us your opinions about what it should contain, or tell us about your content, and we'd be happy to share your works of science fiction with the wider community through this is sci-fi.net. We have a Substack. Substack is cool, it's new, it's interesting, it's vibing. It has regular updates for different topics to do with our podcast. And of course, you can subscribe to our podcast and a whole bunch of other science fiction related Substacks where you can get information from other creators about cool things to do with sci-fi and science. We're on Threads. Threads is sort of like the latest and greatest version of discussion and release on the internet, kind of like X, but without so much toxicity. And there's a lot of engagement there. So if you like to hear what other people have got to say about what we're talking about and what other people are talking about in sci-fi, do check out Threads. It's pretty damn cool. And it's part of Instagram. Am I right there?
Yeah.
So it's a subset of Instagram. So if you already have an Instagram account, just go into your Instagram account, bottom left-hand corner, click on Threads, and you too can be very quickly part of Threads. We have a Buy Me a Coffee. Of course, it's not free to create a podcast as awesome as ours is. Robert's been funding that, but if you could drop us a few shekels down on the Buy Me a Coffee, we'd really appreciate the help. So that's Buy Me a Coffee. It's on the screen now if you're watching the video, but otherwise there is a link to that in the show notes for the pod. You can leave us a message on our hotline. Remember, that number is 305-563-6334. That's 305-563-6334. Pop a 1 in front of that if you're not in the continental United States. And you can leave us a message there. You can talk about one of our podcasts that you've listened to, or you can talk about something new or something that you're up to. And if you're happy with us talking around that in one of our future podcasts, we'd love to have your content added to our section on This is Sci-Fi. Because, of course, we love sharing sci-fi and we love sharing the love, and we want to know what you're up to in the science fiction realm as well. So thanks for joining us. Remember to check our back catalogue or join us on Discord to talk about something that you've heard or an opinion that you have on one of our podcasts. We'd love to have you. We'd love to talk to you about that. But thank you for joining us on this slightly shorter but still very awesome episode of Science Fiction Remnant. And we hope you'll join us again for the next episode as we talk more about our favourite subject, which is, of course, science and science fiction. Talk to you then. Bye for now.
Bye.